here. I would just say a few words about the organizations and what brought us and how we decided to work on this project. So Meeting Points is an organization that we founded in 2018. And our organizational efforts are mainly focused on strengthening social cohesion. And we work with different groups of people using very different means. And these are all people who come from, who are having. So we work with refugees, with trauma, with deaf people, and we use many different methods to work with them, and normally organizing dinners, facilitated activities to exploratory walks and urban interventions. And KARANTINA is an organization located in Izmir, and their main focus is to contribute to ongoing efforts on capacity building, audience development, creating new spaces for artistic and cultural actions, and sustainable documentations by including local, regional, national, and international networks. They work by prioritizing on fostering creative collaboration, exchange of experience, and creating unique models for designing of events. How we found each other. It happened through the civil society exchange program, where we have the freedom and the pleasure to choose from all possible topics to work on, and we decided to focus on projects that are on a project that is focused on different questions. Actually, we try to explore more around how art can create connections within the traditional knowledge and today. What's the bridge, what's the connection, what could be the connection between the urban and the rural, and how rural communities could be involved in activities where they co-create with artists, or how artistic methods and means can be implemented in those kind of spaces, in rural spaces with rural communities. And our project involves several activities, includes several activities. So we, in the beginning, started collecting examples of projects and initiatives. And created an archive, which is going to be soon with more examples of projects and initiatives. And the archive can be found on the website, which is konserve.it. This is the name of our project. And then we have two workshops. One is happening today, and the next one is happening on 11th of May. I saw that some of you already registered. I will say more things about this second workshop later at the end of the meeting. And we also plan to explore and to explore further these topics that I mentioned and create material that is going to be shared, like a written material. We still have to define how it's going to look like, but it's going to be focused on our findings and also case studies. Yes, so this is about us and how we came up with this idea. And now I'm going to introduce Janina Taneva, who is our moderator today. She is a founder of Ideas Factory Association, and today I will actually introduce her by also one of the main projects, one of the main initiatives that they're working on. It's called Rezidenția Baba, or Granny Residence, if we translate the title. And this is an initiative connecting urban young people with people from villages, or with babas, with grannies from villages across Bulgaria. And this is an innovative entrepreneurial model which combines design thinking, ethnographic fieldwork skills, and many other things, so that the young people can work using different methods in order to explore and to contribute during the project, and it's happening for a period of 3 to 5 weeks. So yes, I'm passing now the word to Janina, who will take us to the next steps.
Hello everyone, I'm happy to be here with such a colorful crowd from all over the place. First of all, I'm very thankful for this invitation, because I think this small tribe of people trying to work in peripheries is growing. And as the center, obviously, or the systems we are living in are collapsing around us. And I think the peripheries are a very organic direction of our focus of artists, especially because art should be that extent of imagination of how we could imagine a world that is more just and that is more inhabitable for all, let's say, like something which is more livable, and it's something that works for all. In that sense, today I try, together with Diana and our colleagues also from with Sarp, Gökçe and Vesi, to create for you just a design of that program today, to make a journey around the main questions around what stops us sometimes to go to those peripheries, what are the anxieties, what are the fears, and trying to deconstruct them, trying to break it down to small particles so we can work with them and make it more workable and practical and functionable. Unfortunately, today I had a little bit of all kind of technical mishappenings that could happen. So just bear with me, but I think we will have a good time anyway. Yeah, so what could you expect from us today? We will finish around 5:45, depends where you are. 5:45 is Bulgarian time, Central European time 4:45, right, Diana? Or I'm mistaking something, right? It's, yeah, Central European time should be 4:45. And we will try to have a nice and good group dynamic, so I count on you. It's not the typical or any Zoom where you just stay and look at someone talking to you. As we are talking about participative practices and about working with communities, I will count on you for really also participate and, you know, help me today. This is a matter of attitudes, or what we are talking about now today, and how we work with communities in rural communities is a matter of attitude. Today, I'm also here, I guess, as a facilitator, but also as someone that has these 6 years of experience in the field, on the terrain, working with elderly people, intergenerational, interdisciplinary, cross sectors, and all that things that you guys all probably know. And what I'll try to do today, first, is to build, to make use of this amazing group that is today here, because as far as I saw from the applications, it's really a great expertise that you all have, a big variety of academia, artists, community workers. And I think this is actually the best thing that the best out of it is to connect you also between each other. And to start with, and to hear your voices, would you please switch on your mics to hear your voices a bit? And not switch, yeah, switch it on. So just make your mic active. Yeah, thank you. It's so nice to hear just some small noises from all around Turkey and Europe. And you can try to, let's try at the same time to say our location, where we are at the moment. The city, yeah, like a city would be good. So 1, 2, 3, and all at the same time we try to say or sing, depends how it comes to you, your location. So 1, 2, 3. Sofia.
Sofia.
Yes.
Izmir.
Sofia was very loud. Thank you. Happy to hear your voices. So we had our plan now was to make a breakout room session right now.
Okay.
So I'll ask Diana to group you in a while. The question we invite you to discuss in a smaller group of 3 is what brought me here? Like, what is my intent, motivation? Why am I here? Could be your relation to what is rural, could be your relation to working with communities, could be just some periphery interest or something, a new direction in your life, whatever it is. Feel free to share so that we can create here, you know, a confident atmosphere of people bravely sharing stories and then challenges, so we can then make the best out of it. So Diana will now assign you to breakout rooms, and you have, you have like something like 6-7 minutes, like 2 minutes per person, roughly 2 to 3 minutes per person to speak. You'll get a notification on your screen, of course, exactly in the moment when it gets the most interesting. So as it always happens, we try to leave a little bit more space for it, so you have a little bit more time.
Yes, I did a part with the distribution of people in the rooms. So you will see a message on your screen to inviting you to join a room. So you need to accept it in order to go to this room. And there you will meet 1 more person or 2 more people. Okay, I'm opening the rooms. And you should be
If you
seeing.
don't see notification,
Hello.
Hi.
Would you like to start, or would you like me to start?
Maybe you can start.
Sure. So I'm Vessi. I'm part of Meeting Points, so I'm the other half of the team that Diana was talking about. I'm really interested in I guess working with rural communities. When I was a child, we used to have like a small village that we would go to, and I very much miss being able to interact with people that are in smaller rural communities. And I think that a lot of the endemic knowledge, the knowledge that we really need to progress forward and to I guess thrive as a society, is hidden within those villages. And this is one of the reasons why I guess I wanted to do this project, because I think that a lot of the really valuable knowledge is actually hidden in smaller villages, and it is slowly disappearing because people were unfortunately, you know, passing away, and they're not transferring that very important knowledge to others.
And where are you now?
I am currently based in Sofia in Bulgaria. What about you?
I'm in a small village. It's halfway in between Split and Dubrovnik in Croatian coast.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a small town of, I think, 10,000 people, maybe a little bit more. But I was working professionally in arts and culture, mostly in Zagreb and in big cities in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because I come here every summer, and sometimes in during the holidays, I decided to settle here during pandemic to kind of try to live more grounded, situated life, at least for some period. And yeah, I try to do something with local people,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it's easy. We romanticize a lot small towns and villages. Yeah, there is a lot of things that are also problematic, like fitting in and this nationalism and lots of power relations that are very specific to small environments.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's not an easy thing to do, most certainly. Yeah. And what about you girls? What brought you here?
Sorry, I missed the beginning. There was some
That's
technical
okay.
issues. Yeah.
Would you like
I'm
to share?
from Turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. I would like to share. I'm from Turkey, one village of Izmir. I live in a rural area, and I'm here in this workshop with my friends, and we are thinking about our community, and we decided to start a project. It would be just got a fund from Space of Culture, one organization in Turkey. So we have a project about water culture, cultural heritage of water in our village. So the question of this workshop very fit to us. We want to make a research about the heritage in our village, and we want to use arts to share this heritage with the people. We want to make it a topic. So
very interesting.
This brought me here.
Very interesting. Nice. And what about you, Daniela? What brought you here?
Hi, hello. Actually, I just realized that I'm not here since the beginning. I don't know what happened before those breakout rooms because I just entered. But my interest in the workshop is that I've been doing a master's in rural development for the last 2 years in Uppsala in Sweden. But I'm actually I'm Portuguese, and previously I've worked in a non-profit organization in a rural area, and they are linked to biodiversity conservation, but also many times they do it by promoting through cultural events, and so I thought it could be a good opportunity to have more feedback, more ideas and feedback, and how to work better with the community and so forth.
Very interesting. Have you worked with the community before, like in a smaller, like in rural settings?
Yes, we have done. We usually do some summer camps and cultural festivals also with music and other activities, and yeah, organized by this association. And yes, so I've been I've been engaged in some parts of the organization, but not lately not that as much, but yeah, we have there have been some activities, yes.
Interesting. So you're here to gather some ideas.
Yes, and also techniques to improve the participation, yes.
Excellent. Okay, so I guess we all come from very different perspectives, areas. I have actually studied international development, so I guess that it's something similar to what you're doing, Daniela, but in a different scale. So I'd be very interested to hear more about what you do. And I'm not sure if is it how do I pronounce your name? Hazel? Hey, could you please help me out?
Hazal in Turkish.
Hazal.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing that you're, I guess, researching, because they say that water has memory. I don't know if you've heard, there is a lot of research done on the memory of water and what it actually means. And there's many communities, especially in South America and Central America. Like, for example, Chile is a country that has a very deep connection with water. Chile, and they do a lot of projects around what water means for the people, for the local people, because it's it's so much more than just, you know, water to drink or water to wash our clothes or water for our plants and things like that. So very, very interesting. I think we're asked to leave, unfortunately. But let's see. I will see you back in the bigger room.
So there is a message you need to leave. So, hello, Jelko. Hello, Hazal. Hazal, did you manage to share something, or it was like a pop-up show?
Oh, it was okay. No.
Hello, Akin. All right. We wait, I think, for a few more. Right.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm from the ones that always, in the beginning, I was always from the ones that were stressed about getting the message. You need to go back to the main room. But now I know you should wait until the last moment.
Zilko is asking a question. Well, this photo is from an open source place for photos, actually.
I'll share a lot of photos in the presentation in a while from our community work. So you'll see some Bulgarian villages specialties.
There is a photo here also,
yeah, behind
from Baba Residency.
So, are we all here? We can go on.
Yes.
Do I say it right? Okay, Hazal, Sarah, everyone's here. Okay, so I hope your conversations were nice little islands of sharing your true intentions and motivations around this topic. And of course, the plenary now is here to ask you and to trying to harvest what happened there and just to share like an insight from your groups, from these conversations, what was something that you might have been surprised or something that have touched you really. And is there anything you would like to, I don't know, is there something important you think the bigger group should know? And even if it's very personal, you can always refer to anonymous someone in our group. So if you want to keep the anonymity, but it will give us a feeling as a group, what are the challenges or what are the hopes? So what are the links to rural and to interventions in rural area? You don't hear me, or?
Yes.
You hear me? All right, good. So if anyone wants to start, I'm very happy to give you the floor. But do I say it right?
Yes, Burcu.
Okay.
What stayed with me was not doing a project for the people, but with the people.
Very important insight. Thank you. We will be stressing this many times in the upcoming hour. Yes, Anna?
Maybe I can continue because it was actually my phrase, as I'm completely new to the topic, and this is my main question. I think I'm going to work with a rural project in Belarus, and I would like to explain the team and to let's say explain to the team that we should not come as colonialist and make something there that we think is good for locals, but somehow we have to build this connection and to get to know what they need. So this is my main question and my main interest in this meeting today.
Thank you very much for the insight. It's very important for me as well. So you work already in a rural project in Belarus?
No, never.
You said you're new. Okay, all right. Sorry. Okay, anyone else want to share what's there for you? What stayed with you in the talk?
I would say for me it was interesting, and it is interesting what kind of gaps are between the artists and the people who are living in the area. What kind of different gaps? Because from my experience, it is sometimes it's difficult to feel what is exactly the moving thing and what are exactly the gaps, because of course the people who need and who want to do it, they find a way somehow. Of course they have different things what bother them, and they give them difficulties to take part, but sometimes from my experience it came out that, for example, first come people who are not exactly the target group who needs the artist and the artistic intervention. So normally, I don't know if it's normally, but what I can say, so the active people who come in communication first, sometimes they start the communication very actively, and then a little bit they go away, and then at the second step comes the moment when the real people who need and who really need what we do, and the art is coming there. They are less active. They don't have so much courage in the beginning, so they are a little bit afraid even to start. But then they are lasting longer, and their interest grows, and they become more and more active. So from my point of view, would be very interesting to hear different opinions and different experience of different kind of gaps between the artists and the people there.
And Elena, just to clarify, what is your area of work, or yeah, and where you are from?
Basically, our organization with Plamba together. So we are from the organization is based in Sofia. And during we have pretty long experience working with different, mainly youth projects with arts for personal development, also for social communication, but also we worked with different groups, and long time we worked in different areas, in different places, and in one moment we decide, okay, let's focus more in one place to develop more projects at one and the same place to have better and bigger development. So our last experience is like we did many small projects in different places, and we have 1.5 year experience in one area that we wanted to focus, and there we made a project for active citizenship through arts, and we want to continue in that direction. Working with the whole population. It's not with adults only, not only with kids, not only with young people. So trying, of course, to make activities for the different ages, but to make active and to give some more active life there.
Thank you. Yeah, so the question is about how to reach out to the right people, more or less, right? So do we
read the question?
Is there anything like the right people as well? Also, I think that's a bigger, probably deeper issue to discuss, but I think we'll have time to discuss once more on that. But yeah, open to, actually Diana is now typing this like discussions, insights, and we have them on a board, so you can see them and we can follow all the story of our meeting today. So yeah, questions around our group has the questions around, do we get to the right people? How the people that really need or appreciate what we do are a little bit more the ones that they're not the ones that we meet first. How we reach the ones that we would like to reach probably. And not being humble and not being being open cup, not going with predefined solutions for a community that you don't belong to. I think this is what part of what Anna said, and working with the people for the people, not like assign them some things that they should like, or yeah, just
And as event designers, artists, cultural managers, we have this tendency of taking the locals as the audience. So I think this is a big issue, because whenever we are designing an event, we always think about who is the audience, and maybe the target group. But I think we have to change this state of mind. That's another issue.
And I can just add up here to what you said, Sarp, and it's also this idea of target group, which is actually, I would say, corrupted thinking coming out from the project writing. Target group is a very, it's really not, it's not a good term to use, I would say, to when we talk about communities, about people, we don't target them. It's a totally different approach, especially working with communities. It's a phrase, it's a concept coming out of a capitalistic world, of course, where we target things to market and to sell things. And I think art has, in certain roles of art, has a different function, or at least I hope today we are going to talk about the different function of human-centered art, and how we can create community and engaged, community-engaged artistic interventions that maybe it's not always the art you would like to make in terms of what you were imagining before, but there is a process actually once you get to a community, and it's something that forms out together. Here, I think I would like to have some more maybe inputs from you, because I have a lot to say, of course, and I have even a presentation, as you know, but I would love to hear a little bit more voices from you. Is there something around these topics that have been bothering you? Sarp just throw the bomb with with that other concepts, because there are a lot of conflict. I mean, there is a tension. There is a tension between rural and urban. There is a tension between center and periphery. There is a tension between people that had access to education and the ones that didn't. And there are a lot of tensions in our topic today. And those tensions, the only way to work with them is really to dismantle them, to deconstruct them, and to make them to see that small doable parts, small iterations, what we can do. And I think one of the most important things, of course, working in a community with community, is the attitude. Because from the attitudes, you build the design of a program, you build the residency program out of your attitude. You build either a very elitaristic residency, or you might build a very participative program that is done with the people, for the people. So I think it all starts with the attitude, and the attitude is in the words and the framing we use. So is there anyone else who would like to add something? I'll be very, very, very grateful for more inputs from you. Maybe Vesi, I invite you because I know you. Ne, she's not in a mood today. Okay.
Actually, if I may share, me and Hazal, she's here. We are trying to actually not trying, but we are starting to a project in our village, and we live in this village at least for 2 years and more. And we know people, we know children, younger people, and they know us. And we already know that here in this village there is a tendency to get interested with art or crafts, and they are not they are really like especially women and children, they like to create something. And we in our project have invited land artists and landscape artists to join us to highlight the issue of water and the climate change and water. And there is this cultural heritage in our village. It's water wells, ancient water wells. And actually me and Hazal, we are questioning how can we host those artists here and engage with the local people. How can we create the bridge? And yeah, we have this question. I don't know, maybe Hazal may add something.
Which is the village? Can you tell me?
It's called Barbaros. It's in Urla in Izmir.
Excuse me. Okay. Oh, I miss that part of Turkey, but that's another. So I would say that what you just said is just a great example of what we're talking about. That art in its role is working with communities. Sometimes as an artist, you're not necessarily an artist, but sometimes you just have to be a host or a mediator or a cultural mediator or a bridge or someone that cares about the common good. And this is I would say, the heart of what we are talking today, also the heart of the project that Diana, Sarabgyokce, and Vesi are creating, Konserve. And it's about common good as understood, if we understood cultural and cultural heritage and environment as common good. The art has this mission, I would say, mission and a role and a great possibility actually to turn like creative power into undermine topics like those. And common good in today's world is unfortunately is not a priority, as we see. And unfortunately the corona crisis has amplified some of those notions. It was we saw amplification in that in the lack of like education, healthcare, all these common goods topics, right? And rural areas are the ones that are by definition, unfortunately, more deprived from access to, we call it in our organization, in Ideas Factory in Baba Residence, we call it geographically determined rights. So once you work with a rural community, you understand that there is something, there is lack of access to some basic rights that should be given by constitution. Like in our case, the people in Bulgarian villages are not allowed to vote for their own mayor if they're less than 250 people, which is crazy. They're allowed to vote for European Parliament, but they're not allowed to vote for their own mayor. There are many other examples, access to culture, access to education, that I can give you that are actually this basic, the core of why art should be interested in peripheries. And why peripheries should be interested in art is because just culture has this immense power to create these bridges to important topics and to evolve, like, you know, the common conscious in a way, and common understanding and common understanding, and then afterwards a common, let's say, shared understanding of what is needed to be done for our common good. I'll just give the word to Vesi because I think she has raised hand since quite a long time, but I needed to say that.
Thanks so much. I like listening to you. There were some questions that I wanted to raise that were really for me very interesting. We talk about how we enter a community, but very often I was thinking that, you know, we enter a community very often because we have funding to do some work in a particular community, and that funding is not, you know, it's not gonna last forever. It's only gonna last for a period of time until our project ends. And then I was like, okay, so how do we exit a community? And what happens, you know, we go in, we do some work, and then we leave. And I was thinking about the idea of like building capacity and the role of art in building capacity internally within the community. And how linked that is to development, community development, international development at all like different levels. And the moving from being, you know, these extractive, almost vultures that go in, take what they need, and then leave, to some people that are really that really think about the needs of the community and how we can best utilize the resources that we have, not only to do our work within the scope of the project that we've planned, but also really build the internal capacity of the people that we work with. So when we do exit, because we cannot stay everywhere forever, people can actually continue the work that we've done without us, without the external resources, of course, very often with some additional support. But these are some of the things that I was thinking while listening to you all, because I think everything is so project based that it's very hard. Sustainability is like a big question, and you know, for me, it's what we want to learn how to enter, but it's only half of the answer. How do we exit and make sure that people are okay after we do so?
Thank you for putting that up, Facey. I'll talk about, I will also, I have my opinion on that, but later. Now I'll give the word to Elena.
I absolutely agree with everything said before. Just want to give one more, I would like to give another perspective, probably, because exactly, everything is very much project based. And sometimes we go like thinking in that way that I see that this is right to think about that in that direction, but it is also right to think the other way around. So because saying that they are deprived, for example, to have culture access or something like this. So in one moment is what exactly is needed and what exactly is of course, we can bring a lot of things there, but also I would say that these are very clean places. Like in the big cities, we have a lot of culture, we have everything, but we have also a lot of, how to say, it's not so clean. So bringing, and these rural areas, they are very clean because there is not much. And I pay very much attention, and I keep like my heart open for this, because I think this is a very big value. Because by going in the village, I'll be not okay with myself if I'm trying to bring the city in the rural area, because that's not it. Because not to try to bring what they don't have, or to make them as it is to live in the city, because especially now in this time, a lot of people are going out of the cities, going to the small places, of course, because the life is much better there. And I will look the other way around, what we need to bring and what also we better open eyes and ears to listen and to see what is important, and also to have the both sides communication, because there are a lot of very valuable things there that are kept much better than in the big cities and in the programs and in the projects. Coming back to your to Janina, your word for the target groups, it's the same.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Maybe the only thing I don't agree, and I just and I think that's the beautiful thing about discussions. You should have something that you don't agree, so the discussion is alive. I don't. Maybe the thing that I would, I'll put under question is there is a tendency of romanticizing the rural and the villages, and for me, after working for this, just 6 years, it's not much. I mean, it's nothing, of course, but I mean, my experience is that I'm a totally urban child. I don't have grandmothers in a village, nothing, and I had to recreate this bridge and to go and searching for this in a search for something that my soul was searching for. But the question is that they have a very, very, very day-to-day problems, and I mean that access to healthcare, for example, is something that, or how the school was closed some 10 or 20 years ago, is really big community wound. And I think we should also what Elena said and what Vesi said, I think here we create a space to understand that actually what is needed when you go to communities, just to have more ears and more eyes, and to observe and to listen, to observe and to listen. And whatever you build, it should be really with putting somehow the needs, if not in the center, somehow into account. I know that as artists probably have different disciplines and academia and researchers. My work is that we have put the needs, we try to put the needs, and this sometimes means to make to needs in the center, which means sometimes to make the artwork might be not what you expected, but this is because then there is a tension again between the needs of the community and what an artist has an idea of, like high art or something that is a form he or she would like to bring. Okay, Plamen and Číček, do I say it right? I didn't saw who was first, but I'll give the floor to the lady first, if you don't mind. Číček, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'd like to talk from the point where Elena put the issue, brought forward. Actually, I'm a little bit shy to talk about this topic because I'm a designer and cultural manager working mainly on the urban area. But we had quite a big project in rural area in 2015 and 16. I think this experience of us brought us to this meeting. Thank you for the invitation. It was a project supported by Tandem Turkey Cultural Manager Program, and we learned a lot of things about this project. It was a big experience. We can talk about the details if we need on the following part of the meeting, but I'm shy because I have this perspective of project producer, cultural managers from urban perspective. Actually, if we talk about projects, it's always coming from the urban, I think. I'm shy because I'm not sure what I'm saying. They all are not big sentences, but some questions that we can talk about. So I'm thinking while talking now. Please consider my sentences like this. When I visualize this urban and project management or project production thing and rural area or communities, I imagine a juxtaposition of two different layers. They are not different because we as people are different, very different from each other, but our time rhythms are quite different from each other, and rhythm is everything. So we think with the rhythm of time, of the habits as we use the time in our daily lives, or we produce within this time personal or different time rhythms. I don't know now. It's something deeply going into philosophy. I don't want to go there, but this kind of different layers and juxtaposition of them. Okay, we don't work for someone. We must work together with someone. It's so important, but there is such a difference between projects and rural communities. There are not only two ways like alienalize rural or urban, and also not overlook or disregard this difference. Maybe it's there we can create a significant place, just being aware of this difference between two things while creating some projects. So that's what I'm thinking about nowadays.
It was also sounded to me like, because project is just so different from life, you know. A project design is just so different from the organic way of life and the organic flow of life, and this is the big contradiction in our time. It's, I don't know, it's a part of it. Tell me.
Maybe being aware of it brings more flexibility on the project process. We are mostly programming the projects very strictly, or we have some budgets and plans. We should have these frames to organize projects, but maybe always, but more in the rural areas projects. We should create those spaces to be more flexible within the processes, so we can add more things into the projects.
I agree totally. At least this is how we do it as well. Is there anyone else? Pwaman wanted, yes.
I want to add another issue, and to shift a bit. I think there is one more player in the picture. This is at least what we understood working last year and a half in this small town, which we choose to work for a longer time. And this issue is the official administrative power. This player, like the local administration, the mayor, the people which have authority, the official authority. Also, there are few people which are the informal leaders of the community. But what I mean, it's very important that somehow you being outsider coming to do a project there and trying to make some changes in the longer period sustainable and useful for everyone, not only to understand what exactly are the needs of the local community and to work for them, not only to bring exactly what they need, the art which they really need, not the one which we think they need, but also somehow to be supported in good understanding with these official powers. Because in our case, we 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 have been put it in the situation where the local authorities doesn't count culture as something important for the local society. There is almost no cultural life. It's not planned, and even we have been in a moment when they made discussions for the making a new plan for the next 7 years, and we put that issue on these discussions, that it's needed more active cultural life. We gave some proposition. We gave the results of our project, which was what the people really need. It was a result of discussions, etc., etc. And anyway, this was not put it in the plan, and the plan stayed like a commercially orientated, which is also useful. Yes, the people there have to have businesses, etc., etc. But if the culture is 2 official celebrations during the year, and that's only thing, it's something. So this dialogue with the, not only with the community but with the officials, is it's really important part of the projects, and I think it's useful to get to know from the people with the bigger experience how they manage this dialogue, how they get the attention, how they get the support, etc. Thank you.
Very important. Elena, you want to add something?
Yeah, I'll be very short because not to take too much time, very much speaking. So yeah, here are coming two important from my perspective things, and think what Plamen said. So it is about the value of culture. So one is for us, another is for the local society, and another, and sometimes it's very different thing, which is for the people in power. So these are not all the time the official government and like the administrative people there. It is just the local power, which can be different. Like every from what from our experience, we could see, like, and we can understand that all these kind of places are somehow ruled. They have their rules and their power inside, and these are 3 different perspectives of the value of the culture and the arts it's themselves. And the second thing is about the role of art. This is the role of the arts as itself, and this is from for me especially something that I don't know if I'll find an answer someday, but already many years looking for it. I can just remember one interesting meeting. We are part of a network, Euromeeting Culture. It is a network for Mediterranean and European organizations for culture that work together. And in one, after some discussions and having different opinions, we understood that we just see that the role of the arts is different for us in the different countries. And this is, for example, one was in Palestine. In Palestine, for example, the culture was something which is very important for the political feeling of independency and positioning. In Germany, it was part of more for the social life connection between the people. In France, there was much more aesthetical and arts orientated. So there are so many different perspectives about the role of arts, and yeah, it needs its local and concrete answer of the point where we work, I think.
Thank you very much. Very insightful, the last sentence. I'll ask now Diana to show us our small discussion here on a board, maybe a little bit bigger. Diana, can you?
I will try to make it bigger. Just a second.
Anyway, you're gonna read, so we don't need it that bigger if you read it.
Yes. So there were many different things mentioned, and maybe we can group them together. So we spoke about the importance of working with the people, for the people, and use human-centered design and human-centered art, and how important it is to connect, to reach the people, and how important it is to find the ways to do it that allows us to be authentic and create real close connections and be together. And also we spoke about the dialogues with the community and the officials, and involving local authorities and supporting them in the process of building their capacity. There were also questions around how to explore the gaps between the people and the artists, and how does it influence our process and our work, seeing locals as audience, and also that there is this tension between urban and local, center and periphery, and also that sometimes we romanticize the rural and the villages, and also the issue about having limited time and having these project-based activities that are happening for a very short time and there is no continuity. And here I also added a message that by chance it was just me receiving it. It was even a suggestion from Janina to even leave the word project and concept behind. Yes, and we also spoke about the role of the artist. What's the role of the artist? Maybe to be a bridge and to be caring for the common good, to be a moderator. Yes, I think I'm not missing anything.
Thank you very much for that, harvesting. Now we're a little bit ahead of time already, so I was we'll now jump to the case study of Baba residence, or what we did, in a little bit of might sound a little bit didactical, but this is all I could think of. Also, actually, with the help of Vestia, she gave me that idea of do's and don'ts of community work and field work and terrain work when you work with arts within a community. I had a very special experience that my presentation just was deleted like 30 minutes before our meeting, so I had to start it all over again, and there is 1 or 2 slides missing, but count on me, I'm gonna explain the story even without 1 or 2 slides. The important thing is many of the things that I'm going to share with you already, some of them were already mentioned. So I'm very happy we were on the same page and with the same, looking at the same direction. I'll just share a little bit more, probably a little bit of details, very pragmatical and very practical. And you can always afterwards contact me and ask me for more. Yeah, so I'll start because we're really ahead of time. So Baba residence, or Residencia Baba, is something that was born 6 years ago. We started because we felt there is a potential, there is a need. We didn't know what exactly it was because we didn't have the resources to have the data, which would be the best way to go forward, to have a little bit of research and work a little bit around the questions what people do need. We were very happy for the pilots of this idea. The idea is that young people, creatives, young people working in either creative scene of any art or changing their profession at the moment, are living in elderly people homes, like in older household, the households of elderly people. Very often those people were very alone, very lonely. And we thought there should be some links, some solution. It sounds very, very logistically, like logistical hell to find those people, to be sure they have the right attitude, and then to send people that we don't know to other people that we don't know to live together for a month. So it's probably the most risky project design I've ever done. And of course, because it's the most risky, it's the one that I love most, and it's like the favorites of here of our team, of course, and it has its own path and journey. From the very beginning, what we decided that Residencia Baba is not a project, it's an initiative. Even though the first year in its pilot, it was financed by the Norwegian program, if I'm not mistaken. It gave us the freedom to test out, but we started with a very clear idea that we don't want it to be just that project that you go there, we say hello, and then you say goodbye. As Vessi said, this was always a big question, and probably because we cannot say goodbye, we still stay with our villages, and we try to build a network. So let's go to the next thing. So yeah, who we are. I'm not going to stop a lot here, just saying that we work right now. Residencia Baba had a lot of transformations because we allowed ourselves to, for these years, to, like on each, we allowed ourselves to fail, right? We failed a lot. And we took it as a playground, and we took it as an experiment, and we knew that it wasn't done until then. So we knew that there was no one to learn from. And the core of it was that big trust in human relations, and that human relations, if we have some quality human relations, everything else could be built further on it. So we work right now in 25 up to 30 villages with different, let's say, levels of engagement. We started with the south of Bulgaria in the Rhodope Mountains, again, because we had these romantic ideas that in Bulgaria, this is an area which is very, it's beautiful. There are a lot of mountains, a lot of folklore, mystery. It's those places that just attract you. Unfortunately, once we were there, we never came back with the same format, because on the way we found that actually places that are not that, sorry for that cynicism, but they're not that sexy in a way, they're not that appealing, they're not that beautiful, they're not that famous. Of course, we never went to a famous village, but they're not in a region even that actually are much more attractive for us, because the people need us really a lot. We started with the working hypothesis that the young people from the cities will be able to help, also with physical, apart from collecting stories and songs and intangible cultural heritage, they'll be able to help also physically. It appeared that the locals are much more resilient and physically fit than urbans that have been on their computers for a decade or more. And this is slowly, mistake after mistake, we designed a very open frame for what was that residency. Diana, maybe you can just move to the next one. So I just, because I lost, as I said, one slide, I just, you'll look at this and imagine there is another one. There are principles and ethics that came out from the very first residency. There is out of our mistakes. All of what you're going to see here in don'ts and do's might seem a little bit didactical, but it's actually a very open, how to say, I'm just very openly share with you where we failed and how we learned what we shouldn't do again. And with every year, we try to upgrade it. And we thought, for example, a working hypothesis was that as every underfunded organization in the field of society and culture, we didn't have, as I said, the money to research enough in the beginning, or even to track our results after. I think this is a great luxury that we don't have, and unfortunately, this is the reason that also culture is underfunded, because the results are amazing, but we cannot prove it very often. And so I'll start with a few principles. We are participative, we're human-centered, we're intergenerational, and we're working for the democratization of culture towards the periphery, but not only culture, actually, to resources, different kind of resources, because when you're centered around the needs and not around your goals, at the end, what happens is that actually what happened now during the COVID is that the people didn't have access to many things that were in the cities, like in the pharmacies, they didn't have access to vitamins because they were soaked by the city population. They didn't have access to like masks and things that in the beginning were just bought out. And this is just to an example of how resources are distributed. Rural areas chronically miss access to resources. I don't say they should be, of course, as the cities, but access to culture and access to education are things that for me are basic human rights. And there are something that the locals are always talking about, because voluntarily they built alone there for school, the school they built. The schools they have built, they are in Bulgaria, they have been built by the community, not by a ministry. And then the ministries would take over, make some of the buildings bigger or improve them. And then, unfortunately, the last years, the education was seen as something, as a market, you know, where if there are not enough children, then we close it, and we don't think about how to compensate or create alternative routes for connecting resources. So the do's and don'ts, as Vesi said, don't go to community with an extractive attitude or a mindset. Like, I want to take stories. I want to take, very often projects are writing to us for a partnership. Very often they have this extractive attitude. We would like to use you to access some communities and to take some stories out of the grannies. All right, you take what you're giving back is important. And I'm happy to see that there is a rising number of organizations working with giving back those stories and giving back something very local and very intimate from the community back to the community, recycled through the artistic work. So another very wrong thing is exoticizing it and romanticizing, because this is bringing us away from the real problems. I think if you remember, during the crisis in Greece, Greece was very much romanticized in German media. It was a problem that Greeks and I would say social artists in Germany were talking a lot about, when there was a very, very, very real problem, like no access to cash, or you couldn't get more than 400 euro per, I don't know, per week or month. So I would say, if we romanticize and exoticizing a village, we are actually depriving the people from the chance to connect with the real problem and to build a real bridge. So we should build an ethic. It could be your own ethic, but like an ethical code, an ethos that you follow, your team follows. For us, this is to be humble and to try to to remind to our residents, before they go on a residency, there is a program they go through. And it's about a lot about how to listen, how to be humble. And I think as citizens, we really, this is something that we really can take out of such experiences, this attitude of humbleness, because this is this pure curiosity that is the key to innovation as well. Because if we have this expert and I know everything attitude, there is nothing more to happen. So often what we do in our program, we start with the local problems, needs, aspirations with an open cafe, like World Cafe formats, where people are invited together as a community to in small groups, in small tables, of course, with something to drink and eat. That's important, and it's universal. To talk about what would they like to change in the village, what would they like to achieve, is there something they would like to restore, is there something which is very dear to them, something which is of special value that we cannot see. So we start with this always, always start with their own vision of their own village. So then the next don't pretend, as I said, that you know it all, having that urban expertise. This is also very wrong way, because as an artist or an urban person going to work in a community, you always meet the skepticism, because for in the villages, a village is what is our roots have been there. Like 80%, for example, of Bulgaria used to be rural population until the 18th century, like the late 18th century. Now we have less than 20, I think 25 up to 30% living in rural areas, counting for most also of the poverty. Of course, the people living in poverty or people living with their cultural heritage, they know more than us, that's for sure. And we should always have this in mind. And of course, you probably know this Buddhist story of the empty cup, where there is a student going to his teacher and talking all the time, tell me why I cannot learn more, why I cannot learn. And then the teacher is just pouring more and more tea into his cup, and the cup is already pouring out. And the student is, why are you putting more tea here? And he said, it's the same with your mind. There is no free space. So when I put more, there is no place where I can put my tea. There is no cup. Same with us. Just going with empty mind is the best we can do if we want to discover and to learn and to see what's there. And afterwards to connect with our skills and what we can give, not before, like not going with a predefined idea. Just you can always think of ways to hear to the local expertise. You can go and ask and go with the records, invite them for a community meeting where they, for example, in Bulgaria, it's tradition for the women to sit and do crafts together, to knit together while they sing or tell stories. So invited them to sit together and do crafts together, so they could share with us also their stories. So the don'ts and the do's for the local power and the power dynamics, very important, and Paman shared it as well. We can never, unfortunately, not always unfortunately, because I think there is a mutual learning in that, but we cannot allow ourselves to miss the local authorities, and it's not a good idea at all. I think the more you meet the local authority, there are two ways to go. Either the local authority is authentic leadership, as happens in some of the villages where we work, and it's amazing, amazing collaboration. Like they support us with whatever they can, or sometimes there is a mayor that doesn't likes us because we work with the librarian who is from the other political party, and we saw awful things, really. There is not much authenticity probably left, but in the smaller places, what we do, we connect to the local mayor. The local mayor very often is someone chosen by the locals. At least here in the bigger villages, they're still able to choose their mayor. And something else, made something we call something a power map. I can send you some materials afterwards. We do power map in the beginning, in the first weeks, the situation in a village or rural area, who is formal, informal leadership, is the librarian or the cultural center really doing something? Is it seen as something leading the cultural life, or is just a formal position? Maybe there is a former mayor that also has a voice that is heard, or there is someone that used to be active and now doesn't have that formal place but is still informal leader in the community. We try to unite those because they're very often in some, you know, in some local conflicts. Very often they've lived the whole life together. Of course, it's very natural. They you know, they don't want to speak to someone. What we do, we try to do to create that neutral space where they can, we say, now we think about this common good, what we want to achieve for this, the culture of the village, or what are the needs, or maybe some voluntary work that is needed. And when they see someone from the outside that is interested, there is that magic that happens, and they unite and they say, okay, it's not allowed for us to divide ourselves according to parties right now. We are seen as one, so we should stand as one. And I think that's something you can.
I'm not listening anymore.
Yes, something happened with the sound.
Janina?
No, we lost you somehow. Let's try.
And now, can you hear me now?
Yes, now it's working.
Yes.
So yeah, just never, as someone said, just never, if you go for a first meeting, always try to find these people, try to map it, try to understand who's there, and start with the formal leaders. That's the very organic step to do. Yeah, teachers, just to add, sorry, teachers are very important. Ex-teachers, current teachers, very important part of the ecosystem of a village. Okay, sorry, Diane, did yeah, don't. So if you're on the field, on the terrain, no matter for how many days, I did a mistake because
Something happened with the sound once again.
And again, you hear me?
Yes,
No.
now it's working.
It's strange. Okay. Maybe I'm okay. Okay, so when you're on the terrain, on the field, always bring, like, do think of a journaling. If you work with team of artists, if you work by yourself, no matter, always think of ways to download that information, because that magic time when you're within the community, once you're back, that's fading away, and all the insights, all the learnings, everything is fading away. So just, you know, every day when you're on the terrain, write down, reflect, and just think what you've seen, because we personally, we cannot even, we have a huge archive in the Granny residence with songs, with photos. We cannot make even the best out of it because it's really much, and many often in many situations, the residents that we've sent there, sometimes when they don't send us, like if they recorded a song or something and they don't send it straight away, they never send it, and it's really a loss of energy and time. And I really want to, you know, nota bene. So next one, super. So don't be alone. I would, there is anthropological research that if you go in a bigger community with like, for example, a village of 3,000 people, if you go there with 2 or 3 people, you will be assimilated and you will be mirroring the internal local dynamics of conflicts or different kind of internal challenges. If you're a bigger group and you can keep your group dynamic within the bigger group, that's really super precious. We've tried out the different formats. Like in the first year, we had 4 villages at the same time with smaller groups of residents, with like 4 people here and there, and it was close to disaster. The next year, we had improved the model. Let's say we were in a big Muslim village in the south of Bulgaria, where Bulgarian Muslims live. It was really big, 3,000 people village, and we decided not to make the same mistake, and we built a really good group dynamic between artists before they went there, and they were like 10 or 12 people, and this was very, very important because once you have a group, in the group, it's possible that you download the emotions because it's very intense. It's very intense. I mean, you have to play a role in a way every day. It's not yourself. There is a mask that you put. You are seen in a different way, and this is it is hard sometimes, and you need someone to share it with, to reflect with, to have a beer with. If it's a Muslim community where you're not allowed to have the beer in the open, just to have someone in the room to have a beer with, just someone to share that journey with you. And this is like a basic recommendation for me. Just any residencies, build it with the bigger groups. Really, it's really also precious with for the artists themselves. This year, just to say, the last year we managed to do our artistic residency in the northwest of Bulgaria, which is the poorest region in the European Union. And it was amazing because the artists, they created their amazing energy between them and with the community. Once they have a good energy between them, they can create really good, also some kind of a planning and a good balance between planning and going with the flow. And we let this to them, like we only say, okay, at the end it should be nice if there is something, also a process, but also something like an end event or something which is co-created with the people, but we have some deadlines, so this is a really fine-tuning to find a good balance between the between a structure and innovation, a structure and flow. And I cannot tell you much more about it. It's happy with its dynamic. It's it's a healthy approach to it. Sorry, can you, Diante, can you move forward? Okay, sorry, the previous one. Okay, so I think we talked about this. Don't go with a predefined goal. Elena, that you see on this on that photo, she's illustrator living in France normally. She was with us this summer in Delena, in this village where we were living, which is a Vlahi village, which is a kind of a minority, but we don't have official minorities in Bulgaria. We are all Bulgarians. So it was interesting that she came with a very different idea of stories or collecting stories. Then you go through some kind of confusion and frustration, which for open process is very okay. It's totally fine. You will go through frustration and confusion. This happens normally at the middle of the process. So in the beginning, it's a lot of euphoria, right? Like we are here, everyone is inviting you to their houses as well. You discover new things every day. There's still things to see, and then you're still a guest. The first week, you're still a guest. Then there is a second week, and you start with hypotheses like, maybe everyone is talking about stories about borders. In our case, this was a border village on two borders with Romania and Serbia. Border village, it's a border village and stories and so on. Then you go through the frustration that this is not well accepted by the people and it's not serving their needs. And if you put this as a focus and somewhere in the middle of your ethos, you go through another frustration. Oh God, there is no time. It's only 1 week left. We have to create something. What's going on? So this is why I think like the perfect amount of time for me is like at least 4 weeks. I know this is too luxury. Sounds like a big luxury, but I think it's possible. In our case, our artists, they stay at the homes of local people. What we do is we try to fundraise money for that local people to cover the costs, but it's not the cost of a hotel or a guest house at all. So then at the end, as you see, Elena came out with a very different idea to put the faces of the locals on a big wall, because there is nothing in the local culture that talks about them, like that reflects them, the locals. So and it was very funny. She was wondering how to reach the wall, and just she shared it with someone at the coffee. In a few minutes, someone brought this big structure where she could climb. After she went for a coffee, someone else brought her paints. And let's say the community supported this. The community was, when you always feel when the community supports an intervention. What we did this year was also we created a performance together with the locals, and a director we had in the residency. And what happened, and we also opened the school for first time after 16 years. It was closed because we understood what? We understood that the school is the heart of a community. It's something that they are bleeding about. They really see this as the first problem, that the school is closed. They see it as let's say, as these arrogant acts that only the city and the state can make to a village, because the village is very it's something that is very free and emancipated, and it's something that used to have its autonomy. And I would say this co-creation was connected to a lot of frustration for our artists, because they say, but this is not a high art at the end. So what we're doing, is this community art? Is this community engaged practice? Is this participative art? And then we had to go together with them and a curator through all that possibilities. Danielle, our schools are closing because the government was giving up to 100,000 euros for that, to close a school in a village when there are not more than, I think, 5 or 6 children, because it was not enough. It was not financially sustainable, and they forget that education is not something that should be seen on a market base. It was really ugly. So money were given for schools to be closed, and those schools were built with voluntary work. So it was a big wound for the community. Each village where we were, this is a big problem. So but it was the first time after 6 years we managed to answer this need, and we opened the school, and we made, maybe maybe you can just another one. I will come back to this. These are just photos from our work. I mean, what you see in the middle that's an American anthropologist singing about American anthropologist and American singer talking to Bulgarian Babi in the northwest of Bulgaria, and actually they've done so much work for this community that I mean, they're all in love with them. And the girl with the shorts, she's singing Bulgarian music, and she learned some of the local songs, and she gave back these songs to the locals. They were crying. There was the whole the cultural center was crying. It was not a high art probably, but this is what they were needing. So of course, a part of this, she did something that served her artistic needs as well. They did a very beautiful exhibition with cyanotypia, which I don't know how it's translated, but some kind of a visual technique where with some chemicals for photography, the colors of the water are giving different shapes. So they took the different waters from the different waters in the village, and they gave a very different image of each of the waters. Had a different image. Let's say the water was creating a different visual. And this is probably something that the locals didn't need, but they there is some balance between those things, and there is some beautiful play and a beautiful dance in searching that balance, being humble, also staying true to your aesthetical I would say values. There's some just a little bit of photos, maybe just another way when something which is typical for the locals here in another village is to work with the corn. So it's just a good way when the local grannies are doing something typical for them to open more. So thinking about how this could be weaved into your research or practice is something also very useful. Okay, just to mention a project, Elena, that you see on the left, okay, the previous one. She started weaving with the local women in a Rodopi village again. She was giving them some models, and they had to recreate the whole weaving because they destroyed all the looms in the village. And because she was very insisting, very much, come on, wouldn't you? And they had to show her how the weaving is done. So she would give ideas about colors, and they would weave together. And this is another approach to reach out to their hearts, saying, I really want to learn. There is nowhere else to learn. Just getting in this role of a child, because you are a child. I mean, you are going to the experts that are more, they're older, they know more. And yeah. And this is an intervention that might, again, not look as something high art, but was something that the village still remembers us with. This is the school that we opened. And it was a co-creation idea between a local and us. We cleaned the school after 16 years of, nothing. Cleaned it together with the locals. They felt hope, and then someone from the locals said, okay, why don't we do something like a last lesson? There are many people that never entered that school since 50 years, since they've been students. And why we don't just invite all the teachers to be there in the front, and we all just share stories out of our school times together. It was a very emotional moment, and it doesn't sound like a big intervention, right? But for the people, there were people that didn't enter there since 6 years. There were people that used to be teachers there and really, really have a big trauma about the school being closed. It was something like a community healing moment, which came out of them. We just facilitated, we just supported, we just were there to keep the space for them. So I think this is more or less what I would like to share. These are our grannies, just saying goodbye. This from me, there are probably many more insights, but you're always welcome to write me an email, and we can talk about it. I would like back to, oh, sorry, I don't know why this, yeah, just at the end, this should be in the beginning, but yeah, that other one, can you, the bigger, I forgot to move it in the beginning. But when you think about why would you like to work in a community, just think, what is the big challenge? What is the big question, dilemma, paradox that you would like to explore? Is it that access to culture? Is it poverty? Is it loneliness? Do you have resources to get some more context and data so that you can really create an evidence-based design of this program? And I always recommend build programs, don't build projects. Build initiatives, don't build projects. These are people. It's like, with the lonely people, even us, that we are still trying to keep it as a network, and we have a lot of volunteers, and that everything that we have, still we all the time we feel guilty that we don't manage to answer all that to talk to all the grannies, because our network of grannies grows immensely, and we are all the time, we have another new grannies to talk to. But keep it as a network. Think in an ecosystem model, not in a project model. I very, very much recommend you in terms of methods and methodologies. I don't know if Diana managed to put the methodologies on a board.
I will share the titles, and then additionally we can send the
materials. I would
materials.
recommend you a few resources. One is Human-Centered Design Toolkit. It is very well designed, like for idiots. Perfect. It's made by Americans and Australians. I'm not saying anything, but they just have a very good approach to really explain things simple. I really, really, really recommend it. Human-Centered Design Toolkit. It's a toolkit of how to. It was created to work with communities for social enterprises in Asia and Africa in the beginning, but I think it's very useful. We apply it also when working with arts. it's very good mix of anthropological, ethnological, journalistical, if you wish, approaches into very well clustered and beautifully done into cards and so on. There you can learn also how to reach like deeper into the needs. There is an empathy map, a lot of tools you can use in your ideas. And then there is the Theory U and Otto Scharmer. Oh, it's not Scharmer. It's written with SH. It's,
That's because it's very charming.
yeah, S
Yeah.
in the beginning. There is S in the beginning. Yes. And still the C. Anyway, Scharmer. Yeah, Otto Scharmer. He's now in MIT in the States in the university. But he created this very beautiful concept that we should move out from bureaucracy, project thinking, or goals-oriented thinking towards ecosystem thinking. This would mean, for example, instead of us competing now, who is working with village, with what methods and so on, creating an ecosystem where we work together with the same goal, and we share the systems and the networks, and we think how we could amplify our skills so we can serve better the common need and not everyone by himself and herself. And Theory U is an amazing example how you could change systems. If we think of art as systems changer, just mind Theory U. And of course, all the anthropological and ethnological research that is you have access to, that's also a great resource. I know we are ahead of time. Thank you so much for listening and bearing with me. I hope there was something you could take out of this. Maybe if you have time, and whoever is maybe some questions and some closing discussions, what you're taking, maybe you're confused also with. Thank you.
I see questions in the chat that are connected to the school, like what happened with the school.
I answered.
Okay. Sorry. I thought it's still okay.
But yeah, if you have any thoughts, might be not a question, but any thoughts on how this could help you specifically, or I know it was too much. Dead by PowerPoint, right? Sorry. 6 years in 20 slides, you know how it is. With our school, sorry, with that school, what happened after? The exhibition is inside. So whoever goes to the village still can take the keys and go inside. And what I am trying to do now is to create an advocacy group to create a legislation in a new law that allows schools to be open for education and cultural functions. So those amazing buildings to be reopened for culture and education. And yeah, I hope. So okay, yeah, I think many of the any thoughts, just insights, thoughts, what was helpful, what was not, so we can make a checkout, like a checkout. Before, yeah, you can because now after the checkout there is just one announcement, so please bear the checkout, and then there will be an announcement for you.
I found it very useful. Thank you for sharing this, and like it is. We could see like that everything is experience based, and that it goes to through the reality and through the real experience, and this is very important. Even I don't really understand how exactly it works. But probably it would take much more time.
You're welcome to join us on a residency.
Yeah, we can we can continue the communication and talk about, yeah.
Okay, so like last share.
I wanted to add something that I was thinking when you were talking about the project versus program, and also your approach to going into a village with a very open mind and not having a concrete goal in mind. And I think that's a great leeway to, I think, what Diana will share in a little bit. I was thinking again about sustainability and also about project funding, because, you know, we fund these, whether it's a project or a program, from somewhere, and very often we have to be quite specific about what, you know, what our objective is and what our goals and objectives and outcomes and outputs are. So for me, it was a question on where is the balance between the two, and how do you find a way to, on one end, secure funding to do these amazing things and leave enough space for things to develop in a very natural way, not having to, you know, restrain people and artists, and both the artists and the community in the way they work, because you've written some things in your project proposal. But yeah, it's not a question, and I know it's a whole different, you know, topic, but it's something that I guess I'm left with, like, where is the balance between the two?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's life and projects. Life projects. Okay, any last sharings? Anyone else? If not, I will invite Diana or Gökçe or Vesi or Sarp left, so to share what is more to be that you can expect. Thank you everyone for being with us today. I will be happy to keep in touch. We have everything, your emails, and we will send some follow-up materials. So now I'll just hand up to Diana.
Jelico is raising hand. I don't know if you want to say something.
Yeah, I wanted to say, yeah, it was interesting opening these questions. I was thinking what would make sense as a way to keep in touch and try answering them in participatory way. And like if there is some web forum or a communication that you already use, or something that could be set up. I'm interested in this because I think it's often that we raise these questions and maybe address them in event, but when event needs to close, there is this reductive moment of summarizing and documenting in a way that makes it a little bit aseptic and kind of cleans up the stuff that were experienced into like compressed, digested formats. So maybe it would be useful to think, what is the way to communicate, to not go into that mode, or to keep those things separate? That's my 5 cents.
Thank you. Maybe Diana's call to action and their team's call to action is partially answering your question. So let's see.
Yes. Thank you. I will share now what are the things that you can do in order to stay involved. So I will share on the screen our website that is for this project. And here you can read more about it. And also there is the call, one of the sections where there is a form that you can fill in if you have a project or initiative that happened in a rural area. And then in the archive section on the website, we'll share all of the projects or initiatives that came through the form. And we will wait to collect more and translate them, because the website is on Bulgarian, English and Turkish, and then we'll upload them here so you can check later. And I think in the end of May or beginning of June. And also one more thing, it's the workshop 2 that is happening on 11th of May, and that is going to be focused on more case studies and also on the short and long-term impacts of artistic practices on the communities, especially in rural areas, of course. And we are going to speak about the impact. Now, while listening to all what was said, I started thinking about how in all of our initiatives, projects, everything we do, activities, the need is in the center, the need of the people we work with is in the center, and it helps us so much in any possible sense. To plan, to organize, to communicate, everything, and it influences a lot the impact that everything has at the end, because when the needs are incorporated in the guiding star that is normally formed as a name in a project or initiative, then things go really well in terms of really reaching or making an impact. Of course, we need to calibrate, right? I mean, the needs that were identified in the beginning maybe are not the real needs, or they weren't formulated perfectly. So we need to calibrate and to check and to change. But yes, the needs to be in the center, I think it's maybe one of the most important and helpful things in our work with communities. So yes, we'll explore more about the projects happening in rural areas and the impact they have on the communities there, and also on the artists who work with the communities and the cultural organizations.
I just want to ask Zeljko, is this answering your questions? Like, there will be the platform and there is this next workshop, but do you feel like there is a need of a, like, I don't know, WhatsApp group where we share resources, or Facebook group, something like this?
I mean, I would prefer not to use WhatsApp and Facebook. Maybe Telegram is better in terms of choices, just because, yeah, politics of technology. But maybe it's also interesting how to keep things informal and participatory in maybe doing a wiki together and mapping these things as a, yeah. Because that's more flexible.
Exactly, yeah, that's a good idea.
Very good idea. Okay, so how we do it?
We'll send an email.
I can propose something on the technical side, if you think it's okay to do a little bit experiments and see how people start using it or not.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yes, we like experiments.
Apparently. Good. Okay. Burcu, want to say something?
No, just I want to say thank you and want to leave.
Thank you for being here.
See you in May.
See you in May. Okay, so Zeljko, maybe with Diana, you stay in contact. Diana, you have so his contact, and you can.
Yes, yes, okay. We have.
Guys, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and I hope actually, apart from that, maybe also I'm now also with Tandem, which is another program for cultural innovations. We're doing now, that's a secret, nobody knows. We're doing now Tandem Regions, which is about access to culture and regional, like Tandem for peripheries, let's say, which is cultural collaborations for peripheries. And I'll be very happy to share some, just to keep in touch, and we can share further, because we will do some prototyping how we do map such systems, and exactly on mapping and so on. So yeah, let's keep in touch.
Thank you.
I have to take my daughter from the kindergarten, so I have to leave. Ciao.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Janina.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Ciao.